Shout out to Calvin D'Souza, who sent me this story. And I can't remember whether or not I did a video about this story when the original version of the story first popped up. But whether this is an update or not, because I'm not entirely sure, I can't remember if I did it or not. And he is now, it says, fits lenient pattern for serial online harassers. And it says he called himself a virgin who never had a girlfriend and posted the threatening message to Facebook in January before being arrested in Utah. Basically, what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is your typical incel. Okay, it reads, only hours before women marched through many U.S. cities in January, a Denver man set off a manhunt when he posted a Facebook message threatening to kill as many girls as I see, in retaliation for years of romantic rejection. Christopher Cleary, age 27, called himself a virgin who never had a girlfriend, stoking fears of another deadly rampage by a man blaming women for his problems. When police tracked his cell phone and arrested the Colorado resident at a McDonald's restaurant in Provo, Utah, Cleary said he had been upset and wasn't thinking clearly. The frightening Facebook post fit a pattern of behavior for a troubled man with a history of terrorizing women he met over the internet. His plea deal with Utah prosecutors appears to fit a pattern of lenient punishments, a common outcome for cyberstalking and online harassment cases. The vast majority of people, if there isn't a lot of training and education going on, tend to miss these things, said Carol Tracy, executive director of the Women's Law Project in Philadelphia. That's why stalking is so dangerous. You think it's not a crime, he got free speech. Cleary pleaded guilty in April to a reduced charge of attempted threat of terrorism and a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. But prosecutors agreed to recommended probation, sparing him any additional jail time in Utah beyond the months he served since his January 19th arrest. Am I even the least bit surprised that that this psycho is even out? The guy threatened women online because they wouldn't give him no pussy. Sorry to be so vulgar, but it is what it is. Now y'all let his crazy maniacal ass back out, and he's probably going to do it again, but he might do it of one of two ways. Under a new identity or on the dark web. And one of two probably has by now already happened. If a judge accepts the recommended sentence during a hearing Thursday in Provo, it won't be the first time Cleary avoids a prison term. Uh-oh. Judges in Colorado gave him similar breaks after a string of women and teenagers accused him of making threats and harassing them. So this isn't his first ride at the rodeo, and they constantly allow him to continue to be a piece of shit online. And they say white privilege isn't real. They can miss me with that shit. The prosecutor of the Utah case said the plea bargain is designed to secure a felony conviction that could help Colorado authorities get a prison sentence for Cleary probation violation. Agreeing to recommend probation was the key to securing his guilty plea. Now, remember what I said before. Whenever they enter a guilty plea like that, that usually means that there's a plea deal coming. Because they knew if he pleads not guilty, he was going to get that prison term. Finch said Utah's criminal statutes leave a huge gap between misdemeanor charge of threatening violence and a felony charge of making a threat of terrorism. He said his office views Cleary as an unbelievably dangerous individual, but wasn't certain it could prove the stupid, horrible message he posted on Facebook account rose to the levels of threat of terrorism. And why the hell did you hit him with terrorism charges then? To me, it sounds like they mistakenly overcharged him, even though it was pretty evident that's what he was doing. It just sounds like it was real sloppy to me. But they probably told him, if you plead guilty, we'll find a way to get you off. And that's what he did, and that's what happened. I did my review of the case with some concern of the statutes Finch said. The problem is that I feel Cleary falls right into the middle of those two areas, but most likely he falls in the lowest level. He noted the Utah judge is still free to sentence Cleary to prison. At least 8 people since 2012 have contacted authorities to accuse Cleary of stalking or harassing them, according to an Associated Press review of police and court records. Police in Colorado also investigated complaints that Cleary threatened to bomb a grocery store in 2013 after an employee refused to cash his check, threatened to slit the throat of a Denver city employee after his car was towed, and threatened a mass shooting at a mental health facility during a phone call in 2016. Now, what do all of those say to me? This guy is off his damn rocker and he's unhinged. He was threatening to do bodily harm to all these people for the most smallest of things. Threatening to slit the throat of a banker because they couldn't cash a check. He threatened a mass shooting at a mental health facility. Why? He threatened to bomb a grocery store because the employee refused to cash his check, and threatened to slit the throat of a Denver employee because his car was towed. Well, where the hell was your car parked? Probably in a tow zone. But shows right there that he should not be out on the street. And they said, and this dates back to 2012. It's now 2019. 7 years later, and they still felt the need that he could be on the outside instead of on the inside, where he should have been, honestly, since 2012. See, when it comes to Palm Colored, they give them all these chances to continue to be a fuck up until they actually commit a fucked up crime, meaning a casualty or a dead body comes upon them. And then that's when they want to act. Cleary was on probation for a marijuana conviction when in 2016 he was charged with stalking two 18-year-old women he met online. He was on probation and in mental health court for the stalking cases when he was charged in 2017 with stalking and harassing a third woman who was Cleary's caseworker. Last year, judges in Jefferson County sentenced him to probation in all three stalking cases. Cleary was still on probation in Jefferson County when he was arrested in Utah. Pam Russell, a spokeswoman for the Jefferson County Prosecutor's Office, said once the Utah case has been concluded, Cleary will be returned to Colorado and prosecutors will seek to revoke his probation and send Cleary to prison. That's probably the best line in this entire article. Hopefully it actually happens, because that's exactly where this whack job needs to be. Preferably, maybe if he can put him in solitary confinement and he's padded walls for 23 hours a day, that would be even better. Cleary also has a warrant for his arrest in Denver, where a 17-year-old told police in 2015 that he sent her a string of threatening text messages, including, "I own multiple guns. I can have you dead in a second." This guy is just a serial stalker. That's just basically what it boils down to. Luckily, he has not killed any of the women that he has stalked. A public defender representing Cleary in Utah declined to comment. Of course they did. How can you even try to defend this? Cleary told the officer who arrested him in Provo that he has some kind of impulse disorder and had been taking medication but couldn't remember what type according to records. Well, that just sounds like that just sounds like a huge drop of the ball on their side. Earlier, a Colorado defense attorney said in court that Cleary had been diagnosed with major depressive disorder. Oh, here we go. Here we go with that mental illness crap. The timing of Cleary's Utah arrest on the second anniversary of the Women's March on Washington and the language of his Facebook threat led to speculation on the internet and in some news reports that he could be an incel, which I stated at the beginning. Short for involuntarily celibate. The incel movement, an online subculture linked to deadly attacks in California, Toronto, and Florida, promotes the misogynistic idea that men are entitled to have sex with women. "All I wanted was to be loved," Cleary wrote in his post. "Yet no one cares about me. I'm 27 years old and I've never had a girlfriend before, and I'm still a virgin. This is why I'm planning on shooting up a public place soon and being the next mass shooter, because I'm ready to die, and all the girls that turn me down is going to make it right by killing as many girls as I see." A Colorado police detective who investigated two women's stalking accusations said he didn't find any evidence Cleary identified as an incel or had other ideological motives. "I truly think he's just wired differently," Arvada police detective Michael Romer said, and two of Cleary's accusers have said they had a sexual relationship with him. Experts said Cleary appears to be emblematic of how police and courts typically handle cyberstalking and online harassment cases. University of Maryland law professor Daniel Citron, author of the book Hate Crimes in Cyberspace, said criminal statutes outlawing such behavior typically are misdemeanors with light punishments that don't deter offenders. The criminal justice system tends to view online abuse as no big deal, she said, and perpetrators get empathy while we forget and erase the victims. The sentencing in Cleary's Jefferson County case came in April 2018. He got 3 years probation for stalking 3 women. One victim, Hannah Keller, saw his mugshot on television. She said he harassed her with phone calls, text messages, and Facebook posts off and on for roughly 2 years before she finally contacted police in 2015. A second victim, Cleary's former caseworker, told police in 2017 that she had a sexual relationship with him but tried to end it. She said Cleary made repeated death threats and created fake Craigslist ads soliciting sex and rape using her phone number and an address within a block of her home. During a hearing last year, Jefferson County Judge Dennis Hall said he and the second judge struggled to fashion appropriate sentences for Cleary's conviction. Why does it seem like they're just having the biggest issue with locking this motherfucker up? I mean, all the evidence is there. Now, had it been a black person, it's open and shut case. It says Cleary told Hall he was 100% committed to getting help. He said he was seeking a therapist and a psychiatrist. I don't need to read any more because I think y'all get the gist of this. This was a loaded story right here. Like, this guy's life. How, Sway? That, to quote Kanye West, how? My goodness. And you can just look at his picture and tell he ain't got it all together. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this story down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you in the next one.